You're not broke because of the economy. You're broke because you built a life that only pays you when you show up. Let that hit you. Every dollar you make is tied to your time, your energy, your presence. The moment you stop, the money stops. That's not income. That's dependency. And you've been calling it security. It's not, it's control. Control over your schedule, control over your potential, control over how far you're allowed to go. And the worst part, you agree to it. You wake up every day, follow the same routine, chase the same paycheck, and tell yourself this is just how life works. Meanwhile, someone else is building systems that print money while they sleep, and you're still asking for a raise. That gap, that's not luck, that's thinking. Salary thinking versus system thinking. One keeps you stuck, the other makes you unstoppable. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. If your income depends on you showing up, you don't own your life, you're renting it. And today that ends. No headings, no bullet points, no chapter labels, no repetition, no filler, no cliches, no greetings or introductions, no in this audiobook we will phrasing. 100% original and non-copyright use, cinematic pacing with high retention. Mix short punchy lines with longer flowing sentences. Maintain constant psychological tension. Hook rules. Start with a brutal, emotionally aggressive 30 to 45-second hook. The first sentence must hit like a punch. Attack the listener's identity, their habits, and their current life. Trigger pain, shame, regret, and missed potential. Make them feel exposed. Then immediately promise transformation and power. Drop straight into a gripping story, no slow setup. Structure flow without labeling it. Move through storytelling, neuroscience, psychology, discipline training, and real-world application seamlessly. Continuously open loops to maintain curiosity. Every 5 to 7 minutes include a powerful realization moment. Every 10 minutes increase intensity and pressure. Build like a movie that keeps escalating. Core themes to integrate naturally. Identity rewiring and self-image transformation, breaking the salary mindset and shifting to systems thinking, dopamine detox and control of distractions, anti-procrastination, science and action triggers fear, immunity and risk tolerance, mental toughness conditioning, emotional control under pressure, deep work and focus mastery, discipline rituals and daily systems, confidence, building through action, body language, dominance and presence, voice authority and communication power, social dominance and influence psychology, wealth systems versus time for money thinking, legacy, status, and long-term power, psychological triggers to embed, shame of wasted years, regret of staying average, fear of being left behind, competition with stronger individuals, desire for respect and status, need for control over life, hunger for power and independence, legacy and long-term impact. Practical layer, continuously embed actionable exercises, mental drills, and daily systems. The listener can implement immediately without breaking the narrative flow. Language, simple, clean American English, conversational but intense. No academic or complex jargon ending. End with a cinematic, high impact closing monologue. It should feel like a final confrontation with the listener's identity. Force them to choose between staying weak or transforming immediately. No summary, only escalation, pressure, and a call to action that feels unavoidable. You're not underpaid, you're underbuilt. And that truth right there is the one thing your ego has been hiding from you your entire life. You wake up, check your phone, drag your body through a job you don't respect, wait for a number to hit your bank account, and you call that progress. You call that stability. You call that being responsible. But deep down, there's a voice that won't shut up. It tells you the truth you don't want to hear. You're trading your entire life for a number someone else decided you're worth. And the worst part, you accepted it. You accepted a system where your time is owned, your energy is drained, your ambition is sedated, and your future is capped before you even begin. You didn't get trapped. You adapted to the trap. You optimized yourself to survive inside a cage, and then you decorated it with comfort. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel restless. That's why no amount of scrolling, entertainment, or temporary motivation ever fixes the pressure building inside your chest. Because your brain knows something your habits are trying to ignore. You were not built to live on a salary. You were built to build systems. And until that shift happens, nothing changes. Not your income, not your confidence, not your identity. You can read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts, but if you still wake up thinking, how do I earn more money per hour? Instead of, how do I build something that earns without me? You're still thinking like a worker, and workers don't get free. They get efficient, they get promoted, they get slightly better cages, but they don't get control. Control belongs to the person who builds something once and gets paid forever. Let me show you exactly where you lost that path. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be average. You were trained into it. School didn't teach you how to build leverage. It taught you how to follow instructions. It rewarded obedience, not dominance. You learned to wait for permission, chase validation, and measure your worth through external approval. Then came the job. Now the system got tighter. You were given tasks, deadlines, performance metrics, and just enough money to keep you dependent, but not enough to make you dangerous. And slowly, something started happening inside your brain. Your ambition didn't disappear. It got redirected. Instead of asking, how do I own? You started asking, how do I survive better? That's the moment you stopped building power and started managing comfort. And comfort is the most dangerous drug on earth because it doesn't destroy you fast. It slowly replaces your potential with routine, and your brain loves it. Every notification you check, every short video you scroll, every distraction you give into, it's not random. It's dopamine conditioning. Your brain is being trained to prefer quick hits of pleasure over long-term dominance. That's why you struggle to focus. That's why you procrastinate. That's why you say you want more, but your actions keep you exactly where you are. This is not a motivation problem. This is a neurological trap. Your brain has been wired for consumption, not creation. And until you break that wiring, you will always choose easy over powerful. So let's rewire it right now. Understand this. Discipline is not about willpower. It's about identity. If you still see yourself as someone who works for money, you will behave like someone who trades time for income. But the moment you shift your identity to someone who builds systems, everything changes. Your decisions change. Your habits change. Your tolerance for distraction drops. Your standards rise. Because system builders don't chase money. They design machines that produce it. Let me give you a real picture. Two people wake up at the same time. One checks emails, responds to messages, prepares for meetings. Their day is already owned. Every action they take is reactive. The other sits down and asks one question. What can I build today that will pay me tomorrow and keep paying me next year? That one question separates workers from controllers. The first person is renting their life. The second is constructing an asset. And assets are the only things that create freedom. Not effort, not hours, not hustle. Assets. Something that works when you don't. Something that grows without your constant presence. Something that turns your thinking into income. But here's where most people fail. They don't lack intelligence, they lack endurance. Because building systems is not exciting in the beginning. It's slow, it's uncertain. It feels like you're working with no immediate reward, and your dopamine addicted brain hates that. It craves instant validation. That's why most people quit before anything compounds. They go back to what feels safe: a paycheck, predictable effort, predictable results, predictable life. But predictable lives don't create powerful people. Pressure does, uncertainty does, delayed gratification does. So here's your first shift. Stop asking, how do I make money faster? Start asking, what can I build that removes me from the equation? That question will make you uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is the signal that you're finally thinking at a higher level. Now let's go deeper. Your fear of building systems is not about failure, it's about exposure. Because when you try to build something of your own, there's no one to hide behind, no boss, no structure, no guaranteed outcome, just you and the results. That level of responsibility terrifies people who've spent their whole life being told what to do. But it's also where power is born. You don't become confident by thinking. You become confident by surviving your own uncertainty, by taking action when there's no guarantee, by moving forward when your brain is screaming for safety. That's how identity changes, not through affirmations, through evidence. You stack small wins in environments where most people quit, and your brain starts to accept a new reality. I'm not average. I build, I execute, I finish. That's the identity we're creating. And once that identity locks in, your entire life reorganizes around it. Now listen carefully. You don't need 10 systems. You need one. One system that works. One asset that produces. One stream that proves to your brain this is real. Because once you see money come in without trading time directly, your entire belief system cracks open. You stop thinking small. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop settling. And that's when things accelerate. But before we build anything, we have to remove what's killing your focus. Because right now, your biggest enemy isn't lack of opportunity, it's distraction. Your brain is overloaded. Too much input, too much noise, too much stimulation. And when your brain is overstimulated, it loses the ability to go deep. And deep work is where systems are created. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take control of your dopamine, not reduce it, control it. For the next 24 hours, you eliminate unnecessary stimulation. No mindless scrolling, no random content, no constant checking. You create silence because in silence, your brain resets. And when your brain resets, your focus sharpens. And when your focus sharpens, you can finally think at the level required to build something real. Most people will not do this. That's why most people stay stuck. But if you do, you'll feel something shift, a level of clarity you haven't felt in years. That's your natural state. Not distracted, not scattered, focused, dangerous, capable. And from that state, we start building, not ideas, systems, because ideas don't pay you, execution does. And in the next phase, you're going to learn exactly how to identify, design, and launch your first system, the one that breaks your dependence on time forever. Say next when you're ready to step into execution mode. Right now, your biggest problem isn't lack of ideas, it's that you've been trained to think in tasks instead of leverage. You look at work and ask, what do I need to do today? That question keeps you small. Builders don't think in tasks, they think in systems that multiply effort. So we're going to reprogram that thinking immediately. You're not here to do more work. You're here to make work work for you. There are only three types of systems that matter in the real world, not 10, not 20. Three, and every powerful person you've ever looked up to is dominating one or combining all of them. Content systems, skill-based systems, capital-based systems. That's it. Content systems turn attention into income. You create once, distribute endlessly, and let platforms push your work while you sleep. Skill-based systems turn expertise into scalable assets, offers, services, digital products that don't require your constant presence. Capital-based systems use money itself as a worker, investments, equity, ownership. Right now, you don't need all three. You need one. And you need it now. Because the longer you stay in analysis mode, the weaker your execution muscle becomes. Thinking feels productive, but it's just a sophisticated form of avoidance when there's no action behind it. So choose your lane. If you have no money, but you have time and energy, you start with content. If you have a valuable skill, you start with a skill system. If you already have capital, you build capital systems. No confusion, no overthinking. Decide. Now here's where most people sabotage themselves. They pick a lane, then they hesitate. They wait for clarity. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect plan. That hesitation is not strategy. It's fear disguised as intelligence. Because once you start, there's no more pretending. Results expose you, and your brain would rather stay comfortable than risk being exposed as average. So we eliminate hesitation with a rule. You move before you feel ready every time. You don't negotiate with emotion, you override it. That's discipline. Now let's build your first system. We'll start with the fastest path for most people, a content-driven system that evolves into income. But listen carefully. This is not about becoming an entertainer. This is about becoming a signal in a world full of noise. Right now, attention is the most valuable currency on earth, but most people consume it. Very few control it. You're going to control it. Here's the shift. Stop asking, what should I post? Start asking, what problem can I solve repeatedly? Because systems are built on repetition. Pick one problem, one pain point, one transformation, and attack it from every angle. You don't need variety, you need consistency of message. If your content is scattered, your results will be scattered. But if your message is focused, your authority compounds. So define your domain: confidence, discipline, money, fitness, social power, mindset. Choose one. Then you create daily. Not when you feel inspired, daily. Because repetition builds skill, and skill builds leverage. At first, no one will watch. Good. That's your training ground. No pressure, no expectations, just execution. Most people quit here because they expect validation too early. But you're not here for validation. You're here for transformation. And transformation is built in silence before it's recognized in public. Now understand this. Your first content will be bad. Your second will be slightly less bad. Your 10th will start showing shape. Your 100th will start creating traction. And somewhere along that journey, something shifts. You stop forcing it. You start understanding people. You start speaking directly into their fears, their frustrations, their desires. And that's when attention locks in. That's when people start listening. And attention, when directed correctly, becomes income, but not automatically. This is where most people stay stuck. They get views, but no system. Attention without structure is wasted energy. So we build the bridge. Once you start gaining traction, you introduce a simple system behind your content, something that captures value, an offer, a product, a service, something that solves the exact problem your content talks about. Now, your content is no longer just content, it's a funnel. It pulls people in, builds trust, and directs them to a solution. And that solution pays you even when you're not working. That's your first taste of leverage. That's the moment everything changes because now you've seen it. You've experienced money disconnected from time. And once you experience that, going back to pure salary thinking feels suffocating. But don't get comfortable. One system is not the end, it's the beginning. Because now we upgrade, now we optimize, now we scale. You take what works and you multiply it. More content, better messaging, stronger offers, cleaner systems. You remove friction, you automate steps, you build processes that reduce your involvement while increasing output. That's how systems evolve from effort to efficiency to dominance. But there's a hidden enemy that will try to stop you at every level: your emotions. because building systems is not just a technical process, it's psychological warfare. There will be days where nothing works, days where you feel invisible, days where doubt creeps in and tells you this isn't for you. That voice is not truth, it's resistance. And resistance appears whenever you're about to grow. So we train for it. You don't wait for motivation, you build rituals that force action. Same time, same place, every day. You sit down and execute whether you feel like it or not, because consistency beats intensity. Always. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be relentless. Now let's talk about your presence. Because systems don't just run on logic, they run on perception. How people see you determines how they respond to you. So, your body language, your voice, your energy, it all matters. When you speak, there should be certainty, not arrogance. Certainty. You don't rush your words. You control them. You pause. You hold eye contact. You make people feel like you're not seeking approval. You're delivering value. That's authority. And authority attracts attention. Attention feeds systems. Everything connects. Now understand this at a deeper level. You are not just building income. You are building identity. Every action you take is casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Skip a day, you reinforce weakness. Show up anyway, you reinforce discipline. Over time, those votes create a new version of you, a version that doesn't hesitate, doesn't overthink, doesn't wait, a version that executes automatically. That's the goal, not just external success, internal transformation. Because once you become that person, systems become easier to build, not harder. Now, here's the reality most people avoid. This path is not comfortable. It will isolate you. It will demand more from you than your current life ever has. You will outgrow people. You will outgrow habits. You will outgrow your old identity. And that process is painful, but it's necessary because you can't build a powerful life with a weak mindset. You can't create freedom while thinking like a follower. And you can't dominate your environment if you're still controlled by your impulses. So you make a decision, not later, now. You decide that your life will no longer be based on what you're paid per hour. It will be based on what you build per day. You decide that your time will not be sold. It will be invested. You decide that your focus will not be scattered. It will be weaponized. And once that decision is made, there is no going back because now you've seen the truth. Now you understand the game. And in the next phase, we go deeper into mental toughness, fear, immunity, and the exact conditioning required to keep building when everything in you wants to quit. Because everything up to this point sounds powerful until reality hits you in the face.